Iranian naval forces breach American waters in complete darkness. September 22nd, 2025. Beneath the moonless sky off the Washington coast, a calculated strike force cuts through Pacific swells with deadly precision. 28 specialized landing vessels carrying 110 heavy battle tanks, 55 armored fighting vehicles, and 460 elite Revolutionary Guard Marines advance toward an unsuspecting coastal settlement. Their objective is ruthless and simple: capture the town, establish a fortified beachhead, and create a staging ground for deeper penetration into United States territory. Tehran's military planners believe their approach is flawless, their stealth absolute. What they don't realize is that they're sailing directly into America's most sophisticated maritime killing field. 68,000 feet above the dark waters, an invisible surveillance drone records their every movement, transmitting tactical updates every 3 seconds to Pacific Command. Along the rugged coastline, hidden missile installations track the approaching threat. Deep beneath the surface, an American fast attack submarine maintains perfect silence while maneuvering into strike position. Overhead, 75 combat drones circle undetected, their bomb bays loaded with devastating ordnance. How did America detect this secret invasion? What trap awaits the Iranian fleet? The answer will shock you. At 1:47 a.m. on September 22nd, 2025, the frigid waters of the North Pacific, 195 nautical miles northwest of Bellingham, Washington, churned under the passage of Iran's most brazen military operation in modern history. Under cover of absolute darkness, 28 amphibious assault craft moved in tight formation, their diesel engines running whisper quiet to avoid acoustic detection. Each vessel transported a lethal cargo: 4 main battle tanks weighing 60 tons each, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, and a squad of 16 highly trained Iranian naval commandos. The combined force represented 110 tanks, 55 armored vehicles, 460 Marines, and over 7,000 tons of military hardware approaching American soil. Their weapons inventory included 300,000 rounds of ammunition, 700 anti-armor rockets, and sufficient explosives to devastate a mid-sized town within 35 minutes. The target was a remote fishing community of fewer than 4,000 residents, protected only by an aging coastal radar system monitoring 400 miles of exposed shoreline. Iran had identified this as the most vulnerable gap in America's maritime defense perimeter. Their mission plan was direct: establish a beachhead, fortify the position, and use it as a launching point for inland operations across the Pacific Northwest. To maintain operational security, all communications operated on military-grade 512-bit encryption protocols. The fleet maintained strict electromagnetic silence, and their movement pattern mimicked dispersed commercial shipping traffic. On the command bridge of the lead assault ship, Iranian officers reviewed detailed invasion maps and synchronized assault timetables. They were convinced of their tactical superiority and believed American forces remained completely unaware of their presence. But 7 miles above them, invisible to conventional radar systems, an American stealth reconnaissance drone was already cataloging their every movement, beaming encrypted intelligence updates every 3 seconds directly to U.S. Naval Operations Command. The trap was already operational, and Iran had no idea they were being hunted. If you were commanding this operation, would you order an immediate strike or wait for the optimal engagement zone? From the instant the stealth drone acquired the Iranian formation, U.S. Pacific Command began receiving comprehensive battlefield intelligence every 3 seconds, including thermal imaging of individual personnel aboard each vessel. Within 2 minutes, classified alert protocols were activated across multiple command centers from San Diego to Norfolk, initiating Operation Steel Tide, a rapid response elimination doctrine designed to neutralize any amphibious invasion force within 12 minutes of detection. The strategy was methodical. allow Iran to advance into the predetermined engagement zone, a lethal maritime corridor measuring 26 nautical miles wide by 42 nautical miles long, where converging American firepower systems could simultaneously target every hostile vessel. 3 primary strike elements were immediately activated: 75 MQ-25 Stingray unmanned combat vehicles, each armed with 4 250-pound precision-guided munitions, delivering a combined payload of 75,000 pounds of high explosives. The Virginia-class attack submarine USS Montana repositioned to ambush depth of 740 feet, running silent at 28 knots, equipped with 42 Mk-48 heavyweight torpedoes and 16 Tomahawk Block V cruise missiles. 3 coastal defense batteries featuring 36 RGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles prepared for launch, each missile carrying a 485-pound armor-piercing warhead capable of splitting a destroyer in half. Inside the Tactical Operations Center, 16 massive digital displays tracked every aspect of the Iranian fleet's approach. Intelligence analysts calculated their current speed at 15 knots and determined they would enter the engagement zone in 31 minutes. Iranian commanders remained confident in their invisibility, their detection systems showing nothing but empty ocean. They had no knowledge that 75 drones were maintaining overwatch at 42,000 feet altitude, or that a nuclear-powered submarine was positioning 12 miles behind their formation. The tactical noose was contracting steadily. When the American counterattack commenced, it would deliver the equivalent of 120 tons of explosives in the first 90 seconds alone. Before we reveal how this devastating trap unfolds, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest military analysis videos. Your support helps us bring you the most detailed breakdowns of modern warfare tactics. At 01:53 hours, the Iranian flotilla crossed into the invisible boundary of America's maritime kill zone. From that moment, the countdown shifted from minutes to heartbeats. At precisely 01:5318 hours, encrypted firing commands transmitted from Pacific Command to 75 MQ-25 Stingray drones, maintaining silent patrol at 42,000 feet elevation. Each drone's advanced AAQ-37 electro-optical targeting system locked onto predetermined targets. These weren't prototype weapons, but proven American naval strike platforms, capable of delivering ordnance from 18 miles away with surgical accuracy within 0.8 meters. At 01:5325 hours, the first salvo of 300 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs descended from the night sky. Each munition carried 250 pounds of high-explosive fragmentation submunitions, specifically designed to penetrate armor plating and trigger secondary ammunition detonations. Diving at Mach 1.7 in near-vertical attack profiles, the bombs struck 12 lead Iranian vessels within 5.2 seconds. The destruction was instantaneous and catastrophic. One assault craft erupted in a fireball exceeding 250 feet in height, its onboard tanks exploding in a cascading chain reaction that hurled 30 tons of steel debris across a quarter-mile radius. Another vessel's hull cracked open like an eggshell, launching its armored vehicles into the churning sea like discarded toys. The concussive shockwaves were so intense that Iranian troops 300 meters away were hurled overboard by the blast effects. The Iranian formation disintegrated immediately. Ships veered wildly to avoid the burning wreckage, breaking their defensive formation and exposing themselves to follow-up attacks. That's when the second drone wave struck with devastating precision. Another 300 bombs hammered the center and rear elements of the convoy, obliterating communication arrays, detonating ammunition stockpiles, and igniting thousands of gallons of onboard fuel. By 01:5445 hours, less than 70 seconds after the initial bomb impacts, 16 Iranian ships were either rapidly sinking or completely consumed by fires. Casualty reports were staggering. Over 200 Iranian Marines were confirmed dead in the opening moments, with scores more wounded and trapped in flooding compartments below deck. Meanwhile, USS Montana, positioned 13.2 nautical miles astern of the fleet, launched 6 Mk-48 Mod 7 heavyweight torpedoes targeting vessels attempting to reverse course and flee. Each torpedo traveled at 63 knots, guided by sophisticated sonar homing systems to strike directly beneath the keel, the structural weak point of any warship. The underwater detonations generated shockwaves exceeding 600 pounds per square inch, literally snapping hulls in two and sending them to the ocean floor within 60 seconds. Iranian communications networks collapsed into chaos. The military-grade encrypted channels designed for coordinated amphibious operations became saturated with overlapping emergency transmissions and desperate pleas for assistance. Some captains attempted to ground their ships on nearby shoals, only to be annihilated by precision follow-up drone strikes. Above the battle, the unmanned combat vehicles continued their lethal choreography. Their artificial intelligence targeting systems automatically redistributing munitions to vessels that survived the preliminary attacks. By 015530 hours, the once formidable Iranian invasion force had been reduced to scattered burning hulks, drifting helplessly in an expanding sea of oil and floating debris. And yet, the most devastating phase of the American counterattack was still to come. The coastal missile batteries had not yet fired a single shot. Don't forget to drop a like on this video if you're amazed by the precision of modern naval warfare, and let us know in the comments what military topic you'd like us to cover next. At 0156 hours, the surviving Iranian vessels, barely 1/4 of the original force, were in full retreat, engines pushed beyond redline limits, leaving foaming wakes under the desperate thrust of overloaded turbines. But escape was impossible. They were already within engagement range of 3 U.S. coastal missile installations concealed along the Washington coastline, each positioned to create overlapping fields of fire with no gaps. The launch command was transmitted: fire all available tubes. Within 8 seconds, 36 RGM-84 Harpoon Block 2C anti-ship missiles roared from their concealed launchers. Each missile, measuring 17 feet in length and weighing 1,170 pounds, carried a 485-pound high-explosive penetrating warhead and flew at Mach 0.87, maintaining an altitude of just 12 feet above the sea surface to remain below radar detection until final target approach. Guided by GPS navigation and active radar terminal homing, the harpoons struck like precision hammers. The first barrage hit 4 retreating Iranian ships nearly simultaneously. One vessel's forward magazine, containing over 25,000 rounds, detonated in a blinding explosion visible for 18 miles. Another harpoon penetrated the engine compartment of a heavy tank transport, igniting 12,000 gallons of marine diesel into a rolling inferno that burned for 6 hours. USS Montana contributed to the destruction. The submarine's integrated fire control system, linked directly to the drone surveillance network, fired 4 Tomahawk Block V cruise missiles at ships attempting to hide within the smoke and debris. Flying at 580 miles per hour, barely 80 feet above the water surface, the Tomahawks carried 1,000-pound bunker-busting warheads designed to punch through reinforced deck plating before exploding internally. All 4 targets were obliterated, 2 breaking completely in half, the others capsizing within 3 minutes of impact. Above the carnage, the remaining 30 unmanned combat vehicles from the initial assault phase hunted down stragglers and survivors. Switching from bombs to AGM-114R9X Hellfire missiles, each weighing 106 pounds with armor-penetrating shaped charge warheads. The drones systematically destroyed lifeboats and smaller craft attempting to ferry troops toward shore. By 0159 hours, the final organized Iranian vessel had been eliminated, either burning, sinking, or drifting powerless in an expanding slick of fuel oil and wreckage. In total, 24 Iranian ships were destroyed at sea. 4 additional vessels were crippled and subsequently scuttled. Over 280 Iranian Marines were confirmed killed in action, with 180 survivors eventually pulled from the frigid waters and taken prisoner. All 110 main battle tanks and 55 armored fighting vehicles were lost to the depths, along with hundreds of tons of ammunition and equipment. The entire engagement lasted under 7 minutes from first drone strike to final missile impact. The kill ratio was absolute. 100% of the Iranian amphibious force eliminated without a single American combat loss. The North Pacific fell silent once again, but now it was a silence punctuated only by the crackle of distant fires, the hiss of sinking metal, and the steady drone of American recovery aircraft heading toward the battle zone. By 0345 hours, the engagement was concluded. The North Pacific was strewn with twisted metal, burning fuel, and scattered debris. The acrid smell of diesel exhaust and explosive residue lingered over the water for miles in every direction. U.S. Navy search and rescue teams, supported by MH-60S Nighthawk helicopters, began extracting survivors from the 48-degree waters. Of the 460 Iranian Marines who had departed hours earlier with dreams of conquest, 180 were taken prisoner, many suffering from severe hypothermia, burn injuries, and fragmentation wounds. The equipment losses were staggering beyond calculation. 28 specialized amphibious assault vessels destroyed or sunk, 110 main battle tanks, and 55 infantry fighting vehicles now resting on the seabed 195 nautical miles offshore. Over 7,000 tons of armored steel and hundreds of tons of military supplies lost permanently. Iran's total casualties reached 280 dead, marking it as the most devastating defeat for their naval forces in contemporary military history. By contrast, U.S. forces reported 0 fatalities and only 3 minor injuries, all caused by equipment handling during post-battle recovery operations. Intelligence specialists immediately began interrogating captured personnel. Among the prisoners were 4 high-ranking Iranian naval officers carrying encrypted communication devices containing detailed invasion plans, logistical schedules, and backup operational procedures. Military cyber warfare units cracked the encryption within 48 hours, revealing preparations for 3 additional landing operations targeting other Pacific coastal regions, now permanently neutralized. Satellite reconnaissance imagery of the engagement zone, released by the Pentagon 24 hours later, documented the comprehensive scope of destruction. Multiple oil slicks, some extending over 7 nautical miles, and debris fields covering more than 60 square miles, created an undeniable picture of total annihilation. The international political repercussions were immediate and far-reaching. Global news organizations provided continuous coverage of the failed invasion, with military experts calling it the most decisive naval interception since the Battle of Midway. In Tehran, government officials scrambled to explain how an entire amphibious task force had been eliminated in under 7 minutes. For the United States, the demonstration was calculated and unmistakable. Any hostile force attempting to breach American territorial waters would face overwhelming, coordinated, and instantaneous destruction. Within 96 hours, U.S. Navy recruitment applications increased by 52%, and defense analysts worldwide began fundamentally reassessing the balance of maritime power in the Pacific region. Operation Steel Tide had ended, but its strategic implications would resonate for decades. Make sure to subscribe to Missile Mind for more in-depth military analysis, and comment below with your thoughts on America's coastal defense capabilities. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you the most detailed breakdowns of modern warfare. The wreckage off the Washington coast would require months to clear completely, but the strategic message had already been permanently etched into military history. The United States had not simply defended its territorial waters. It had demonstrated a doctrine of immediate, layered, and absolute response capability that redefined modern naval warfare doctrine forever.